Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, January 31st. Finally, the last day of January 2018. This is show number 1162. I'm your host, Shawn King, joined as always, I'm so happy with this, by my lovely wife,
Mrs. King.
Mrs. King. Melissa, how you doing?
Good.
You have a good week?
So far, pretty good.
Our good friend Sly had awful news this past week.
What?
Terrible news. Omarosa is joining Celebrity Big Brother.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that means.
Which part? The Omarosa part or the Celebrity Big Brother part? Any of it?
I'm sorry, Sly, I don't know.
Such a country mouse.
What? Is it
Big
I don't have
Brother-
television.
Big Brother is a reality TV show
I don't have television.
that sadly Sly is addicted to.
Yeah.
Has been for years.
Okay.
And Omarosa is a reality show personality, for lack of a better term, who was on Trump's Apprentice show, and then he hired her to be part of his administration, and now she's apparently gone and joining Celebrity Big Brother. She's an awful human being. She's an awful, awful human being.
Yes, so Sly's not really upset about it.
I think she's upset. You could ask her.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about HomePod. Have you seen the new HomePod ads? Do you like them? There's 4 of them. You can see them on The Loop if you want to do a search there. Or if you watch the Grammys on Sunday, you would have seen them in heavy rotation during the Grammys. They're interesting. And we'll talk to Melissa about that. And you guys, send me emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com if you've seen the ads, if you have an opinion about them. We're also going to talk about the iOS delays. It's rumored that Apple will be pushing back any major features of the next version of iOS 12, we assume, into iOS 13, which means it won't be delivered until sometime in late 2019. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's going to be taken both ways. People are going to slam Apple for it. People are going to be okay with it. It's just going to be all over the map. We'll talk to Jim about that. We're also going to talk in the Starting Point Photography segment. We mentioned this on last week's show, but the 40 questions you need to ask yourself before you take a photo. And it's not really 40 questions, but it's things to think about. And it's things to think about that you'll become a better photographer the more automatic these things are. I think that's why this is important, to let you know what I think about before I take a shot. And I kind of ask these questions of myself, and you'll see what I mean better in the Starting Point Photography segment. Speaking of bad news for Sly, I got some bad news today, just a couple hours ago. Melissa?
Yeah? I don't think you told me. Did you?
No, you told me this awful, awful news. We were grocery shopping. I'm making a beef stew tomorrow. Melissa's making what I'm going to assume is a delicious pot pie. We walked by the frozen food section. We walked by the ice cream section. And I wanted some ice cream. But it's too expensive. There's stuff that I want to be frugal about, and if the ice cream is under $6, I'll buy it, but it was $8.99, not buying it. When I know it's going to be on sale for $6, I ain't buying it for $9. And Melissa said that she didn't like that ice cream. I said, why not? And she said,
it's too creamy. But we've had this conversation because
it's too creamy.
Yeah.
It's ice cream.
No.
How could it be too creamy?
Because we've had this conversation before. You like French vanilla ice cream, and I don't like French vanilla. I just like plain vanilla, because French vanilla is creamier.
See, I would have no problem with you not liking French vanilla if it was about the flavor. I get that. I get it. You wouldn't like the flavor.
It's a bit, yeah.
But not liking ice cream because it's too creamy.
Too creamy. Like, I don't like it if I mix my ice cream all in, and it's got a whole sort of periphery of cream around it. I don't like that.
It's just weird.
I know.
It's so odd to not like ice cream because it's too creamy.
I know. But I'm not going to go into weird things about you. I mean, our segment is very short.
You're so superior. If you have not yet done it, find out how you can get it. Go to your television set as we speak and download and watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Oh my God, it is hang on, let me just get this right.
It is.
It is a spectacular TV show.
It is.
Possibly the best TV show I've seen in, I'll say, 5 years.
It's
at the very
brilliant.
least.
It's brilliant.
The lead character is a woman named Rachel Brosnahan. I'd never heard of her before, who is amazing. The Wikipedia entry says, the series follows a housewife in 1958 in New York City who discovers she has a knack for stand-up comedy. That description does not do the show justice.
Oh, it doesn't. Oh, my gosh.
Doesn't even come close to doing the show justice.
It touches on so many things.
She is, the actress is a wonderful actress. She is, the character is a wonderful character. The portrayal of 1958 Jewish life is just, I don't know if it's accurate, of upper middle class, Central Park West kind of Jewish life is, but it's very funny. Tony Shalhoub is an amazing actor, and he's amazing in it. There's a couple of down spots. Her ex-husband, his characterization, I'm not really crazy about him and the scenes that he's in.
Well, I kind of think they deliberately downplayed him.
But she is amazing. The costuming is beautiful.
Oh, the sets are incredible. The music.
Yeah, the music is very cool.
Oh, yeah.
The acting and storyline are just amazing.
Yeah, but she is front and center. The spotlight's on her in every scene.
In every
She's
scene.
Incredible.
There's
incredible
there's
woman.
one great scene where they, she's in at a house party, and they're in the kitchen, and the camera pulls back out of the kitchen into the living room, and there's lots of other people. But the entire time, you're still staring at her.
Yeah.
That's when I knew
quite captivating.
how magnetic she was.
Yeah.
Was when I realized that whole scene, as the camera pulled all the way back, you never took your eyes off of her. It's called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you get a chance, you got to watch it. It's so cool. And like I said, I have no idea whether that's accurate Jewish life or not.
She's definitely a Jewish American princess.
Not princess.
But the way that she's being brought up and is expected to be is that Jewish American princess, but she's not.
It's really interesting. I mean, it's not just Jewish, but I think women in general in that time frame were expected to be that way. You went to a good school, you found a good boy, you got married, you had 2 kids, you had the house, you took care of the house. One of the funniest episodes or segments of it was her and her husband going to bed. Her lying down, as we found out, pretending to sleep. Then, like, one eye opened up, gets up, takes all her makeup off, puts her hair up in a bun or whatever it is you women do, comes back to bed, has got the window shade set so that so she's not set an alarm clock, but the window shade set so when the sun rises, it hits her in the face. She wakes up, she gets up out of bed, puts all of her makeup back on, does her hair, puts on a lovely little nightgown and crawls back into bed with her husband, so her husband never sees her in a natural state.
No,
it's
never.
sad, but it was also very funny.
Oh,
too.
but I love the scene later when they've been together in the throes of passion and she hasn't done any of it and she's gone further on in her life and her self-growth, and then they wake up in the morning, he looks at her and he goes, have you always looked like this? Because she hasn't had a chance to do it. And she kind of looked at him.
Tony Shalhoub plays the father who is just befuddled by life. He's befuddled by the women in his life. He doesn't understand them. He doesn't know anything about his wife. He doesn't know anything about his daughter.
Oh, his wife is fantastic.
His wife is amazing in it. You would not. I've never seen a characterization of when it comes to Maisel's mother, Tony Shalhoub's wife, of someone who is so contained.
Yes.
She's just so rigid because she's followed all these rules all of her life.
Well, she's taught them to her daughter,
and she
too.
taught them to her daughter.
She learned everything from her
and
mom.
her daughter is breaking those rules, and you get a little bit of a sense of her mother going, damn it, I wish I could.
Oh, okay.
But I can't.
Yes.
I have to be this person. Society has forced me to be this person. My daughter gets to be this other person. It's really good.
She doesn't quite know yet, though, what the other person. And then when you saw her at the Globe, at the awards, the Golden Globes, I remember we went, oh my gosh, that's the mother, because she looks completely
she
looks so different to her character.
Amazing. It's an amazing show. And the
Oh,
other
and Lenny
thing,
Bruce is a character. You're right,
Yes,
Mo.
Lenny Bruce is a character.
He's great in it. The character.
Kevin Pollak, yes, great actor. It's on Amazon Prime for those folks who are looking for it. And because of this show, I discovered something else about you that I'm really not crazy about.
What?
You can't binge watch. You're a wimp. Two episodes of a show and you're done.
I love binge watching.
You can't do it. We watched 2 episodes.
It must be you, because I used to binge watch. I was badass at binge watching.
Because even like I get it on a school day, a work day. Yeah, you have to be in bed by 10 o'clock, you have to be asleep and all that kind of stuff. But on Friday and Saturday night, I'm like, yes, we're going to binge watch Mrs. Maisel.
Oh.
And 2 shows in, you're like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
I don't. I'm starting to get sleepy. I'm not like, I don't want to watch it. I'm not like that. Don't describe me like that. I've just got sleepy.
Yeah, no, you've said before that you can't watch more than 2 shows. Like Veep. We love watching Veep.
I love Veep.
You can't watch more than 2 episodes of Veep.
Well, I don't want to start to fall asleep. Well, plus you're my new husband and I love you. I don't want to start doing those myoclonic jerks that I do. And I'm starting to, it's called a myoclonic jerk. You know, when you're falling asleep and you do a jerk like that?
That twitch is
it's just not very sexy. A myoclonic jerk. No, it sounds like some
Maybe
awful
it's not
man.
Sexy.
Well, just have you
unsexy.
wife laying there jerking.
It's kind of
awful.
Fun. It's kind of fun. It's
yeah, because you
twitchy.
go. I'll go. Did I jerk? Yeah, you jerk. It's awful.
The best one ever is Sly. When Sly gets disinterested in something, she leans over and she's like a doll, like with the eyes when you were a kid. As soon as she gets off vertical, she goes to sleep. Her eyes close and she shuts off. It's hilarious.
Oh, so Sly has to binge watch sitting up.
Sitting up. Anytime,
I get it.
If Sly gets bored with something and then just tilts over,
that's it.
That's it. She's asleep.
I get it. I get it. Well, that's part of it for me is that I'm laying down, and then I start to get tired, and I don't want to miss any of it.
Okay, I understand that. Folks, later on the show, in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about the 40 questions you need to ask yourself before you take a photo. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. All that and much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I'm joined on our phone by our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. I did you a favor tonight.
You did? Why, thank you very much. What favor was that?
I got a beer before you called.
Yeah, but you go through 2 or 3 beers during a show.
I do, and actually I went through like 8 before the show. So, but this time I got a beer before the show started because I don't know what it is. It's my timing or something. I get a beer before the show.
Yeah.
But then I finish it before you call.
That's right.
And then I have to go get one just as the show starts. And then I go through 2 or 3. But today, since I went through like 8 beforehand, I'm kind of off kilter. So
Yeah, that can throw you off if you don't have that timing down.
It does. It does. It throws you off. I mean, you know.
Let's talk about one of the stories I saw today on Macworld.com. It had to be the dumbest headline ever. HomePod's biggest problem isn't Siri. It's that it's too much like the original iPod.
Oh, for Christ's sake, really?
I think one of the problems is, and this is going to sound so old manish, it's these young kids writing for these websites with no sense of the history of what's gone on. If the HomePod is slightly as successful as the iPod, Tim Cook will do backflips down through the Apple campus.
And so will all the investors.
Being like Siri, being like the original iPod is not a bad thing, you moron.
No, that is not a bad thing at all.
Jesus.
Wow. I didn't see that one, and it's actually a pretty good thing.
Yeah, no kidding. It's I mean, there are all kinds of ways and reasons why the HomePod might be a failure. I don't think it's going to be a failure at all, just to be clear. I think it's going to be very successful for Apple. But I've seen several people so far compare this because, in their opinion, it's limited. Because it doesn't compete directly with Google Home and Amazon Alexa.
Well,
and
thank
those things
God.
Exactly. And those things are, according to these people, hugely successful, although no one from Google or Amazon has ever released sales figures, so that's a bullshit figure right there. That, therefore, Apple's already lost the battle. But I think with the ads that Apple showed especially they're showing these during the Grammys, those 4 ads shows where Apple wants to position the HomePod.
Well, yeah, I may need another beer just because you said that. You know, I think Apple's marketing for the HomePod is spot on.
Yep.
This is a music speaker. Now, what do most people do with a speaker? They listen to music.
Yes.
What do most people ask of an assistant? I mean, they may ask, what's the weather? What are the who's in the Super Bowl?
Yep.
Silly questions, stuff like that. But I don't understand how somebody can listen to music. The number one thing, if that's what that's what a speaker is for.
Yep.
How you could listen to music on an Alexa speaker? How could you do that?
I've never heard one, but from what I've heard, it sounds very tinny.
It's very tinny.
There's no bass to them at all. But I think part of the problem is, and we've talked about this in the past, is people don't know what good music sounds like.
Well, no, I think that people do, but they need to hear it in order to know.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, if that's the case, and this is something that Melissa actually brought up, she said, how are they going to show off the HomePod in the Apple Store? Because if you need to listen to the music, every Apple Store you're ever in is big and loud and crowded, and you're not going to be able to listen to the music the way you would if you were at home.
Look, I will say this. I've heard the HomePod, and I've heard the HomePod compared to Alexa and Google.
Yeah.
So I don't think that HomePod, if somebody wanted to listen to HomePod in a big, expansive space, like an Apple Store or most Apple stores, that's not going to be a problem for a HomePod. That's not going to be the problem.
Really?
I don't think so, because HomePod adjusts to the place where you are.
True.
So I don't think that's going to be the problem. If somebody wants to hear it, they can hear it.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that is magical about the HomePod is not just the sound, but the way it manipulates that sound coming out of the HomePod. You've heard from a lot of the reviewers so far that, and what Apple says on the website is that the HomePod knows what kind of space it's in, and
right.
and manipulates the sound, beamforms the sound to suit that space. If I'm standing in an Apple store, standing in front of that speaker, and there's 15, 20 other people standing around me, and they're all having their own conversation with the Apple geniuses and whatever it might be, that doesn't seem to be the ideal environment for me to make a judgment about whether or not the HomePod is going to be a good home speaker.
Well, I was in a room with a few Apple folks and a few other people, and I'll tell you, it was incredible.
Yeah. It
really was. It sounded really, really good.
Monty says, I need to go to our flagship Apple store at Lenox and see how they're demoing it. Same here. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to buy one, but I'm looking forward to going to the Apple store and seeing how they're showing it off to customers. I think it's one of those things that might be the only thing that would catch Apple up is the fact that it doesn't sound as good as promised in an Apple store environment.
If you go to an Apple store and listen to it, you will buy one.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
I think the other thing is, too, and maybe a lot of people don't realize this, Apple's got a fairly liberal return policy, too. You could buy the HomePod and then bring it back in 2 weeks and say, you don't want it.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying that could be an incentive for folks to buy it.
Just shut up for a minute. If you go buy one and you put it in your home, you will love it.
Yeah.
That sound is going to be so incredible.
I know your good friend over at iMore wrote this article, but I'm still going to slam him for it. 5 things I want to see in HomePod 2. Shut up, Renee. It's not even for sale yet, and he's already wanting to see things in HomePod 2. This is one of the aspects of the tech media that just drives me nuts. They're always looking for the next thing. They're always looking for the thing after the thing that they haven't even seen yet. Does that bother you?
In general, that does bother me. But there were some things in there that made sense.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the thing that bothers me most of all is that people are comparing this smart speaker to Amazon, to Google, and when you hear it, there is no comparison.
No.
So, what is it that Alexa and Google can do that HomePod can't?
Well, I mean, I can add things to my Amazon list. I can buy things from the Alexa. We've seen lots of folks online talking about, I asked Siri this question, and Siri can't give me an answer, but I ask Alexa the question, I get the answer.
Like what?
I know I saw something on Twitter that someone was posting that they asked about the Super Bowl, and Siri just directed them to another website, whereas they asked the same question of Alexa, and Alexa came up with the answer that they were looking for.
I call bullshit on that.
No, I don't, because Siri, I'm surprised at how often Siri doesn't give me the answer that is right there on the website she wants me to go to.
No, I agree with that. I do agree with that, and I've had some instances like that myself with hockey.
Yeah,
where I've asked Siri a question, and I will immediately ask Google the exact same question,
yep,
and it will give me the answer and read it out to me.
Yeah.
So, but Super Bowl, nah, I don't think so.
Well,
I think
perfect example was A perfect example is this.
That's an unfollow.
A perfect
unfollow that person.
A perfect example was this past Saturday. Melissa and I were in the pub having a beer, and I noticed on the TV was the NHL All-Star Skills game. And
yes, I was watching that.
I had forgotten that it was this weekend, and I was curious as to where the All-Star game was. So I asked Siri.
Oh, wait. Are you Canadian and you forgot when the All-Star game was?
Yes, because we don't have TV.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not really a big fan of the skills game anyway. I'll watch the All-Star game, but the skills game...
Shouldn't you just know that? Like,
yes.
Shouldn't your Canadian sense kick in and say, wait a minute, it's the All-Star game this weekend? And you go to a pub and start drinking and watching the All-Star game.
100% agree with you on that. I was embarrassed that I did not know the All-Star game was this weekend. Yeah. But I asked Siri, where's the NHL All-Star game being played at this year? And she pointed me to the NHL.com website.
Yeah.
She didn't say, Tampa, wherever the hell it was. She said, here, go look over here. I'm like, well, I didn't need you.
What kind of a place is Tampa for an NHL
I know.
All-Star?
Don't even get me started.
NHL hockey, Minnesota or something.
NHL hockey should not be allowed to be played in a place where ice doesn't occur naturally. Okay?
Right. Okay, we're good.
No, absolutely.
You get upset.
Crazy.
No need to get upset.
Speaking of the HomePod, did you see the 4 videos ads that Apple played for the HomePod?
I think I saw a couple of them.
All of them are
all
the exact same. What's your opinion of them?
They're okay. I don't think that they actually show everything that HomePod is capable of.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think they're good. They're not great, but then again, my favorite Apple commercial was the Cookie Monster. So, you can take what you want from that.
But it's interesting, and I was talking to Melissa about this, and it's one of the reasons why I like talking to her about this stuff, because we can tend to get a little bit jaded with these kinds of things. And she thought the ads were very interesting. I said, would the ad make you want to go into the store to find out more? She said, yeah, maybe, or at least go on Apple's website to find out more. I'm with you. I want to see more in the ad, but Apple does this minimalist thing that is just sort of titillating and teasing you to make you want to go to a website or go to a store to find out, what's this HomePod thing? I don't know if I agree with her perception of it, but it is interesting to see that from average people, maybe that's the way they're looking at it, as this is just a little tease to make you go find out more information.
Well, and that could be. And if that's the case, then they probably did a better job than what I'm giving them credit for.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I wasn't crazy about that.
I don't know that people have the attention span to say, that looks interesting, let me go. No, It's more like, oh, wait, what's that? Shiny object over there.
That's right.
I mean, they lose their attention span so quickly that I don't know if that's the right strategy. But.
Speaking of the Grammy Awards, Malik had an interesting article. Did you watch the Grammys?
I did not. Why would I?
Exactly. That's going to be my next question. Do you remember the last time you watched the Grammys?
Oh, God. It was probably when I was there. I was at the Grammys.
Nice humble brag, dude. Jesus.
No, seriously.
Seriously.
That's probably the last time that I watched them when I was there.
When was that?
Oh, God, I don't know. Could have been 100 years ago. Who knows? I mean, no, I just, the Grammys don't mean a whole lot to me for music.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't mean a whole lot to me for production, for mixing, for mastering, for every level of music that I love. It means nothing to me. The Grammy Awards mean absolutely nothing to me.
The argument against the Grammys has always been that it doesn't represent music overall. That's often more of a popularity contest. Now, the Grammys that we see, by the way, the Grammys that we see on TV are not the only Grammys they give out. They give out hundreds of other Grammys and other awards,
Right.
off-air kinds of things.
Yes.
And it's very much a pop culture focused show, maybe even too much, that there's so many performances. And a lot of the performances, as O'Malley pointed out, are just kind of odd. They sort of they draw these two names out of a hat and have them sing something instead of having them as a relationship. But maybe that's not very much of an argument. But his argument was really odd. He not complains, but he mentions that the Grammy viewership has gone from 20 million people tuned in this year versus 26 million who tuned in last year. And his argument is because people are watching them online or on YouTube or in other ways. But he goes on to say that the YouTube performances garnered, in his words, quote, a whopping 4 million views. The numbers are staggering compared to the linear television viewership. They're not staggering, dude. They're 5 times less.
No, I get that. And I actually saw your tweet about that. And I'm not sure that you and Ohm are on the same level, because
well, that's no doubt about
are
that.
on the same page about this, because when I look at it, I think, holy shit, somebody got 5 million views on YouTube because some guy uploaded it and got 5 million views for a performance when they didn't need to watch the whole thing. And I think that's the thing. So think about it back to the time when you and I, and maybe some of the listeners of the show, bought music. We bought albums.
Yes.
And you could say that, maybe 10 million albums were sold.
Yeah.
But this one song of the 45 sold 5 million.
Yeah.
Or 2 million. Well, that's pretty staggering that one thing got that much. I think it's staggering that one video got 4 million or 5 million views out of an entire, how many hour show is that? I do think it's staggering. I really do. Because now you don't need to watch the Grammys, and the viewership is going to continue to go down, because you can just go on YouTube and say, oh, I want to see this.
Yeah.
And there it is. And that's why I get 5 million views. And how many days was that? One day?
Well, I think one of the problems with the Grammys is that it's an award show. It's not about the awards. We really don't care about the awards. It's about the performances, whether or not you like the performers who are performing on the show.
Well,
whereas for the Oscars, I care who wins Best Picture or who wins Best Actress. Whereas
I don't care about that either.
On the Grammys, I don't care who wins Best Singer or Best Album. You watch it if you're watching it at all for the music. And I think part of the problem, and I'm very aware of it from my point of view.
I had to get another beer.
I can hear that. I don't care about popular music anymore. At least the music at the Grammys is rewarding. I don't care about Justin Bieber. I don't care about Timberlake. I don't care about Beyonce, for that matter. I don't care about any of that stuff.
No, me neither.
So, and that's just, I'll be the first one to admit that's just a factor of getting old. And my musical tastes have solidified into what they are. And there's nothing new that comes along that I even want to bother to see if they. And the other thing is, I'm going to like my music regardless of the awards. It's if I like that music, I would have already heard those songs, listened to that album. Whereas movies are different. There's all kinds of times when I haven't seen the Best Picture winner that I'll then go see the Best Picture because it won an Oscar.
I agree.
Whereas that doesn't happen with the Grammys. If some album wins an award, I'm not going to go buy the album because of that. I would have already bought it if I liked it.
No, I agree wholeheartedly.
It's interesting though.
I'm with. But do you watch the Oscars?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't. I could care less.
No.
There is not an award show on earth that I watch, except if it said this is the best hard rock metal award show. then I would watch it. But I agree with you. You said it, and I agree. This is because we're getting older.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I don't care about the latest hip hop star,
Yep.
the latest whatever. I honestly, I don't care. They can put out whatever song they want. To me, it all sounds the same. That's great for them. Have your night. Good. You pat yourself on the back.
Yep.
But that's the way that the Grammys have always been.
Yep.
You know, it's always been about pop. It's and before pop it was disco, and after pop it was hip hop or rap, and you know, more pop. And that's just not what I'm into.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it's okay that you are if you like to watch that. But you know, it's just not my thing. So
I thought one of the funniest comments someone made on Twitter over the last week, talking about the HomePod and what can the HomePod do outside of Apple Music. Someone said Apple Music is not yet ready to replace Spotify in our house. The discovery and recommendations suck, and it pushes far too much Dre for anyone except Mrs. Dre.
Well, you know,
I think that's like the Grammys. The Grammys pushes music that I have no interest in whatsoever. There's no relevance to me. I'm not saying the Grammys is a bad thing or I want it to be replaced by something else. I'm just saying right now, for me, I don't care about the Grammys.
Look, I think as far as the Apple Music comment, I think if you love the music that you listen to in Apple Music by pressing that little heart, I think Apple Music gets a lot better. So if you're not doing that,
Yeah.
excuse me, you should. And it will definitely get better.
Interesting.
There's no doubt about that.
You posted a story on Tuesday on the Loop. Apple delays iOS features to focus on reliability. I think this is a really interesting story, if only because it lets us predict the future. I predict that Apple's going to get slammed for this because people are going to say they can't innovate anymore, so they're pushing back features. They can't. Their performance and reliability are falling behind, so they have to do these kinds of things. I think both. I think that's the extreme on either end. Where do you come down on this? Is this a good thing for Apple, or is this a sign of bad things to come?
No, it's definitely a good thing, and it's a good thing based on history, which is something that we all have in common. History of Apple. If you look at Leopard, Snow Leopard, things like that from Mac OS releases, you know that the second release where they kind of calm down on the features and focus more on what they would call stability and reliability is always a good thing to do. Now, talk to any developer. You release new features, you always have other problems to deal with.
Yes.
How many features has Apple released in the iOS in the last 5 years? A ton of them. Well, you know, they're going to have problems. So they need to step back and say, okay, we're only going to release these new features and we're going to fix up everything else so that it works. Yeah. Well, that's great for me. I'm good. Do what you got to do.
I predict the only people who bitch about this is the tech media. I don't think the tech media and Android fanboys are going to poke fun at this, and you know, maybe rightfully so. I don't really care.
I don't care.
I would much rather see Apple focus on the reliability, and to be honest, for me, the reliability of iOS 11 is pretty damn good. The user interface I find quite often kind of wonky, but a lot of that's on developers because they haven't updated their apps to take advantage or disadvantage of the notch or the screen or any other number of things.
I don't know that I really have any apps that haven't taken advantage of the notch or, you know, I mean, you know, but then again, I've always said I'm more of an average user on iOS than a power user. So, I work with what I have.
The Axios article that you linked to has an interesting statement that said, but customers tend to pay for features more than security and reliability, which are tough to assess at the time of purchase. I think that's true of maybe other phone manufacturers, but I don't think it's necessarily true of iPhone buyers. I think iPhone buyers buy new phones. Anything that the OS brings along with it is just gravy. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I think we buy for a great camera. We buy for the look and feel. We buy for the status symbol of it. I think.
Oh, of course, it has to be about the camera with you, definitely.
With me, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I held off on 3 different versions of it just to get a better camera. But I think iPhone users are a different breed in that regard. Well, this will not affect Apple as much as it might somebody else. Yes, they will get the idiots at CNET and Ars Technica and those kind of folks slamming them for this. But I think the knowledgeable users will go, yes, thank God, that's what we want, reliability and stability. And the average person isn't going to notice. Apple's still going to put in new features in iOS 12. They'll announce that at WWDC. Just not as many as they will in iOS 13. And I don't have a problem with that.
Well, and if you think Apple's not going to get up on stage and announce some new whiz-bang feature, then you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. It's just not going to be as many as what, may have been 2 years ago.
No.
But they were going all out. And, as the OS matures, there are certain things that need to be looked after. And that's what they're doing. And I think that's great.
Do you think we'll hear the same announcement for the next version of the Mac OS?
We could. I mean, Apple's done it before.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why we shouldn't.
We'll get you out on this story from your old friends at CNET. Apple will soon let you turn off its iPhone slowing software. Your comment?
Okay.
No. Your comment should be, don't do this.
No, if you want your phone to unexpectedly quit, then fine. Okay. I don't care.
I understand why Apple's doing this, but I will tell everybody, don't do this.
No, of course not.
I wish Apple wouldn't do it, but yeah, okay, fine.
The U.S. government is coming after them. They
right.
have lawsuits coming after them. They have all of this stuff that's, I mean, it's like the perfect storm of badness.
Yep.
And, okay, then don't allow us to help you and turn this off and allow chemistry to take control.
Yeah.
Because that's what will happen.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And Apple's, unfortunately, opening themselves up to another whole can of worms of tech support. People are going to be calling up and saying, my phone keeps shutting down. Well, what phone do you have? It's an iOS 5. It's a 5 with running iOS 11. And I turned this feature up. I was like, well, don't do that, you dumbass.
Yeah, well, buy a new phone or, whatever.
Yep. There's nothing good that's going to come out of this story.
No, there's not. But it's going to be what it is.
It is. Folks, we talked to Jim Dalrymple, our friend from The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
See you later, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Loopinsight.com is Jim's website, and plus he's got a podcast. I've been on it a couple of times. Talking about photographs, photography, stuff like that. Speaking of photography, this is our starting point photography segment. We mentioned on last week's show that I was going to talk about the 40 questions you need to ask yourself before you take a photo. It's a little bit of a it's not hyperbole, but a lot of these things, a lot of these 40 questions are things that when you become a more knowledgeable photographer, not necessarily a better photographer, but a more knowledgeable photographer, become much more instantaneous, much more subconscious, much more automatic. So we'll go through some of these on the list. And it's interesting. This is who wrote this? A guy named Darren Rouse wrote this. His 15th question he asks himself is actually the wrong question. It should be the first question he asks himself. His 15th question is, what story am I trying to tell? That should be your first question. So I tell all of my students, before you pick the camera up and put it to your eye, think about what story you want to tell. How do you want to tell this story? What is the image, the emotion, the color, the shadow, the whatever it is that you want to capture? That's the first question you should always have. One of the questions I ask myself all the time is, why am I bothering? And that's a really interesting question, because if you ask yourself that question more often before you take pictures, you'll take fewer pictures. Because as beginners, we tend to go, oh, click, pretty, pretty. But if you start focusing on creating good images and not just trying to capture everything you see, you'll find yourself taking fewer photos, but you'll find yourself taking better photos. So that's the first question you should ask yourself, is why am I taking this picture? Why am I lifting the camera? Why have I turned my iPhone on? What is it that I'm seeing right now that makes me want to capture this image? If you're using a DSLR, one of the things you want to think about is what mode you're shooting in. What format are you going to shoot in? What white balance are you going to shoot? What mode, as in manual or aperture or shutter priority or autofocus, that kind of stuff. For me, all those questions get asked before I even go out to shoot. When I'm going out to be a photographer, when I'm focused on photography, I've already asked those questions before I've gone, because I know where I'm going, or I know what kind of images I want to capture at this moment. It's a cloudy day. Okay, so now I know what kind of light I'm looking at. I'll set my camera up for that kind of light. I'm looking for landscape photos, so I'm going to set my camera for landscape photos. I'll set my aperture for landscape. I'm going to go out and shoot kids skateboarding. Okay, so I'll set my shutter speed for kids skateboarding. Even before I left the house, I've asked these questions and have my camera already set up. My goal is to make my camera, this sounds kind of funny, an automatic camera as much as possible. Because once you're in the moment taking the pictures, I don't want to think about my settings. I don't want to think about, am I in the right aperture priority mode, shutter priority mode. I don't want to think about white balance. I don't want to think about those kinds of things. I've already got the camera set up because those are the shots I'm looking for, and I ignore the other shots. So if I'm shooting landscape, I'm not looking for faces. I'm not looking for take pictures of dogs or things moving or cars. I'm looking to take landscape photos. And the same when I'm shooting portraits. I'm looking for portrait photography. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I said it doesn't sound.
Your microphone isn't on.
I said it doesn't sound very spontaneous to me.
Speaking
it sounds
of the
very planned. It sounds very planned
Yes.
and constructed already.
Absolutely.
And there's no spontaneity.
Yep, that's right. And there shouldn't be.
Why?
Because as a beginning photographer, remember, this is for beginning photographers.
Oh.
As a beginning photographer, you should have a plan first.
Oh, I didn't get that bit. Okay. Because I thought you were talking about you.
Yes. As a beginning photographer, you should always have a plan for when you go shooting, because it helps you
Right.
focus on getting the right shot.
Right.
As a pro, I still go out there with a plan, but because I know my camera so well, my plan can change in a heartbeat.
Right.
If I'm shooting landscapes, you and I are out walking along the beach, I'm shooting landscapes, and suddenly the light hits you just right, because I know my camera so well, inside I'd say probably 5 seconds. I can reset my camera to take portraits.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a beginner and a pro. If you get to that level, great. That's fantastic. But as a beginner, I want beginners to focus on being a photographer, to think about being a photographer. Because the more you shoot thinking about being a photographer, the more automatic a lot of the stuff becomes. Where I no longer have to spend more than half a second looking at the light and knowing, here's the light, there's my aperture settings. Or that thing is moving, here's my shutter settings. I don't got to think about it. I'm going to think, okay, it's a bird, and the sun's coming from over there, and it might fly away, and so
Are you teasing me?
No, not at all. I'm teasing other beginners.
I know, I'm just kidding.
But I want you to think about that stuff, and think about it so much and so often that it becomes automatic. Even when even when I don't have a camera in my hand, I'm often looking at light and going, okay, I wonder what settings I'd use in this situation. Like right now with you.
Yeah.
Right now with you, I'd use f1.8. I'd shoot at 160 shutter speed at 1/60 of a second with an ISO of 800.
Wow. I'm still thinking, do I have the lens cap off?
That's right. Exactly.
The lens cap off?
Exactly.
I hope nobody sees, but I didn't take it off. Monty says, oh, never mind.
No, go ahead. What's Monty say?
Well, that if you don't have a plan, you do things like lose your camera charging cable or leave your DSLE at your in-laws' house in another country.
Are you kidding me, Monty? That's just mean. Defend me. You can't. I'm an idiot. There's no defense for the level of stupidity I bring to the table.
Poor Monty. Yeah, really.
Some questions as a beginner you don't have to ask yourself. Do I use manual or autofocus? Don't use manual. If you're a beginner, don't use manual. Because manual will just F you up. Because manual is, we're talking about manual lens setting. 95% of the cameras you buy in the last 5 years, even the kit lens, has got really good autofocus. That we talked about last week, having your focus point right. If your focus point is right, you'll get a good shot. Manual focus is very, very hard to get right. And the bigger your aperture means a smaller aperture number. The smaller aperture number, the harder it is to nail focus.
But why even have it then?
Why even have what?
A manual focus.
Great question. Because there are some times when your autofocus just can't get the scene. You're shooting a polar bear on snow. There's no contrast for the autofocus to go, okay, that's further away, or that kind of stuff.
Oh.
That's when you need manual. Or if you are shooting in the dark, it's very low light situations, and your camera again can't get enough focus, so you can focus in the you can manual focus in darkish situations.
I see.
If you've got an old lens, a lot of old lenses, if you can go to a pawn shop and find a lens from the 80s that's got an amazing glass on it, but it's a manual focus lens, maybe that's what you want to do is use a manual focus lens because you got a great deal on this spectacular glass lens. Do I need to change lenses? That's again, when I go out, I know what I'm going to be shooting, so I've already got the proper lens on my camera. If I'm shooting portraits, my portrait lens is on. If I'm shooting landscapes, my wide angle lens is on. So I brought the glass that's specific to the thing I'm going to shoot. If I want to carry around a backpack or a camera bag, I'll put in some extra lenses. But for us, when we were going to the beach in Australia, I generally bought just one or two lenses because there were very specific situations I was going to use those in. Do I need to use a tripod? I've seen photographers who carry a tripod around with them wherever they go.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't doing that. If I'm going to shoot in low light situations, or I'm going to shoot things that are far away, where I know I'm going to need a tripod, then I'll bring a tripod. Otherwise, I don't bring a tripod. I'm not carrying a tripod around with me wherever I go, because the vast majority of beginners, anyway, will never use that tripod. They'll bring it thinking they need it, but unless it's a very high quality tripod, they're a pain in the ass to set up.
Well, it was useful when you did the peony.
Yes.
A long exposure.
That's right. If you want to do those kind of specific shots, then you bring a tripod.
Right.
So for specific situations, bring a tripod. Otherwise, for the most part, don't Don't bother.
Okay.
And then there's the shots that now that you've got the situation and you're about to actually take a picture, one of the things I always look for, just before I push the shutter, I check all four corners of the image to make sure there isn't a telephone wire going through your head or someone's photobombing you from behind or the background isn't very good. Just before I push the shutter, I just do a quick scan around, see what's behind the subject. I also look for those leading lines. We've talked about that many times in the show. The lines that will draw the person's eye in. It could be a fence. It could be an actual physical line, like a fence post, or I posted up on Instagram what I thought was a good shot that I took. You and I were walking on the beach last weekend, the weekend before, and there's this great curve of the beach with a log leaning out. And the curve of the beach and the log perfectly drew your eye through the shot exactly the way I wanted you to look. Mm-hmm. So I look for those lines too. And move around. Okay, I don't see the line there, but I know there's a line here somewhere. I'll move around. I'll look up. I'll look down. I'll move around for the line. Seeing the light, another important thing. I want to take a picture of your face. Click. No. Think about where the light's coming from. Think about where the shadow is coming from. If it's a bright sunny sky and coming from over here, they're going to have a long shadow down the side of the face. Well, you don't want that. And all you have to do is have them turn their face a little bit or turn their face the other way. So look for the light too. Again, that's an automatic thing. It's not a question you ask yourself. It's not a checklist that you ask yourself when you become a more accomplished photographer. Once you start thinking about these things and taking good pictures, these become very, very automatic. Is it in focus? That's one of the most important things in the world. Melissa found this out in Australia. She took some great, wonderfully composed images. You got down in the surf to shoot the kids, but because, now it's my fault for not teaching her properly, because the focus point wasn't on the kids, it was on a wave behind them or the ground in front of them, she missed the shot. It wasn't a good shot.
Not everyone. I got one good one.
You got several good ones.
Yeah, but no, I get it. I wasn't thinking about the green.
That's right.
Square.
The green square. Mm-mm. So those are some of the questions you think, and that's what I'm talking about when I say these are things you think about as a photographer, and the more you think about them, eventually they become automatic. I was just one of the reasons why I took the Olympus M1 to Australia was because somehow, I know Monty's going to rag me on this, I managed to lose my camera charger. The batteries for the Nikon D600 don't get charged.
I'm sorry, Logan's so cute. Every time you say I'm shooting kids, I twitch.
The batteries for the Nikon D600 can't be charged in the camera. I can't plug in a USB USB cable and charge up the phone, which is really, really annoying. So, online, I bought this little cheapish feeling charger. But Nikon wanted to charge $50 for the charger itself. These guys, Power Extra, charged me $50 for the charger and 2 batteries. These batteries are $50 a piece from Nikon. The charger is $50 from Nikon. These guys sent me for $50. They sent me the battery and the charger. That's a great deal. It's compact. It's actually smaller, even though it fits 2 batteries. It's smaller than the Nikon one. The Nikon one goes in like this. So this one is smaller because it's up and down. It's got a little indicator on the front of it that tells you when the batteries are full. That's no big deal. You get a green light with that. The only downside of this one is its cable is pretty short. You can't plug this into the wall because they dangle down. So it's I just got there's a mini USB port on the end, so I just found an old cable and plugged in. It's a great little device. It's fantastic. Now I've got 3 batteries, which is even better.
I'm going to cover it with fluorescent tape so you don't lose it.
You're channeling Monty, aren't you?
I am channeling Monty.
So that's the reason why I couldn't bring my Nikon.
He'll still lose it.
That's why I couldn't bring my Nikon D600. So I haven't picked this up since well before we went to Australia. And it's so funny. I got some nice shots. with this camera in Australia. Not as many as I wanted, not as many as I pointed the camera at because of me being unfamiliar with the use of this camera. But I picked this thing up.
Oh, that happened last week too.
Sorry. I picked this thing up and put the battery in it and went, oh, my baby's home. It feels so much different and for me better than the Olympus M1. The Olympus M1 is a good, bordering on great camera. But it's physically too small for me. The buttons are too close together. The buttons are too small.
MacMan, my precious.
It really does feel that way. It's very funny. It's a big, heavy camera. I mean, it weighs probably 2 or 3 times more than the Olympus M1.
Looks so much better in your hands.
That's part of it too.
Than what the other one does.
Yeah, exactly. And the other part of it is just sheer vanity. I feel like a professional photographer holding this thing.
Right.
I think I look like a professional photographer holding this thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the first one to admit that's just complete vanity. But it's also, I know this camera. I know when I was using the M1 and I had to make changes. I wanted to go to portrait mode or I wanted to change aperture. I had to stop and look and, where's that button? Where's that button? I want to change to multi-shot. I want to change the autofocus to a different metering mode. It took me moments to do that. But this one, boom, 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 done, click. Yes, my precious. That's exactly the way.
Monty says it's the Nikon on the front that makes it take better pictures because it says Nikon on the front.
So, but the point is, you got to learn how your camera works in order to be able to do this stuff quickly. But you've also got to learn how photography works so that you can think about the shots automatically. So that when you look at a scene, you're instantly, or as close as you can, knowledgeable about the shot. And don't forget, these cameras often have scene modes on them too, and the scene modes can be a big help. Don't just think you have to learn on manual mode. There were several times when I took pictures just for the fun of it on the M1 using landscape mode. I knew I was going to be on a beach. That's a landscape. So I just switched to landscape mode and let the camera figure out aperture and shutter and that kind of stuff. When I handed the camera to you, I'd switch it to portrait mode. I knew you could be shooting the kids. Mm-hmm. That way you didn't have to worry about aperture and shutter and ISO. Let the camera figure it out. Mm-hmm. So learn those things on your camera too, the different scene modes that you may have for action or for portraits or for landscape or whatever else it might be.
Can I have that camera now?
Absolutely.
I love that camera.
You do. And it's a good fit for you too. Mm-hmm. And I think because you've already got a good eye, as a photography instructor, I was so proud. I'm in the water and I took the camera in the water, took some shots, came out, handed it to Melissa, and said, take some shots if you want to. I'd switch it to portrait mode because I knew she would take shots of the kids. I went back out in the water just to bob around in the surf. I turned and looked, and you were crouched down, shooting the kids at eye level. Mm-hmm. You could have stood up. And I know for you there's not much difference between up and down. It's only like 6 inches.
Oh my gosh. Monty said to me last week that it was really great that I did that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was very proud of you.
Because I wasn't thinking I just thought, I'm just going to get right down there in the wave.
Exactly. I was very proud of you to get that shot. No, you got one great shot of both Rory and Jasper on their boards coming in. They had this great smile on their face, a big splash. It was a fantastic shot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I remember looking over and going, look at her. She's going down. And you're so proud of her.
I go low, you go high.
Exactly. So for you, that was automatic. That was just, oh yeah, this is something I should do. Is
Well, I deliberately decided to practice it.
So the more, again, something else I teach in the class all the time, the more you practice this stuff, the more automatic it becomes. The more automatic it becomes means the better you're getting at it, your shots will get better. So this is why I'm always on my students. You got to practice being a photographer. You can't just do it while you're going out shopping. You can't just do it while you're doing other things. Take an hour, hopefully a week, and go be a photographer. Find something to practice, whether it's aperture or shutter or ISO or whatever, landscape, portrait, whatever. Find something to practice each and every week, and eventually this stuff becomes automatic for you.
Yes.
If anybody wants actually, I'll post this in the IRC chat room. The website is digitalphotographyschool.com. The article was 40 questions I asked myself before hitting the shutter release button. It's kind of interesting to read over. Not all of these are legitimate questions that you're going to ask yourself, or necessary questions that you're going to ask yourself. I think on next week's show, we're going to have an interview with the folks at Pixie.
Oh.
Pixie. Pixy. Pixie.com. My friend, I won't say his name. I just want to get him in trouble or anything else like that. Somebody posted on... Sorry, no, MacMan said what?
One of the questions is, where is my camera? That's a question for Shawn.
Yeah, where's my camera?
Go on.
So, the person said, I'm so glad I signed up for Pixie. They just made me a few quid. And I went to Pixie.com, saw it, and Pixie.com says, find where and how your images are used online, recover compensation for unauthorized use, create a free account. Okay, so I did. Created a free account. And what happens is you link your online photography presence to Pixie.com. You give them permission to look at your pictures. On Flickr, on Tumblr, on Instagram, on your website, whatever it might be. Now, they don't grab the photos off your website. They do all kinds of machine learning type stuff to look at all your photos on these websites and then look at the internet to see if someone has taken your photo and is using it in an unauthorized way. So I said to my friend, well, that's kind of cool. I said, do you make enough money for a pint or two? He said, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. He said, I made $3,000. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Somebody had taken a photo of his and posted it, used it in a web story, a news story. Now, he did not know about this. He had it was on some, not obscure website or an obscure news source, but it wasn't a news source that he would have seen in his just surfing around the internet. So he had no idea that these guys were using his photo. And so using Pixie pops up and goes, this is your photo. It's being used over here. What do you want us to do? And what you do is you click on a button. You can flag the photo. You can ignore the photo if it's a duplicate that you know is okay, or a licensed use of it. Or you can open a case. When you click on open a case, they ask you a bunch of questions about the photo, about where you saw it, about what you want them to do. And then you have a couple of options. You can just have them flag the photo, and Pixie will send them an email that says, bad, take it down. Or they'll open up a case file. Pixie has lawyers around the world that work on commission. So the lawyer sends basically a cease and desist letter, pay us X number of dollars or we're going to sue you kind of thing. Now my friend has no idea how much Pixie made out of this, and he doesn't really care because it's $3,000 free dollars. It's money he did not know that he had, that was out there for him. So I signed up for Pixie, and today I'm surfing around Pixie, and I see, where'd it go? I see this picture, and I'll show you guys the picture. So it's a picture of the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival. Let me get a big screenshot for you guys. Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival. It's a perfectly ordinary picture. It's nothing special about the picture. I'm not going to say this is even a good picture. It's not even going to say it's a representative picture of my shots. It's an okay picture. But I remember the scene. I remember I was riding around the motorcycle. Vancouver has got wonderful cherry blossoms all over. What area of town is this? This is called the West End?
They're not just at the West End. They're in South Vancouver all over too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was riding the motorcycle looking for cherry blossom streets so I could bring my photography group to come see it. And I saw these three women standing in the middle of the street taking pictures. That was kind of a cool picture. I like the idea of them standing in the middle of the street and the leading line that we talk about going off into the distance. I took a picture. Except, this is, you look at the attribution down here. It says Spencer, hang on, I got it wrong. It says Spencer Finley. Well, guess what, kids? I ain't Spencer frickin' Finley. Here is my photo. Look similar? Here's his. Let me get this back up. My photo, his photo. My photo, his photo. Now, I'm sorry, Spencer, but you stole that photo from me, you dick. Because I know for a fact there wasn't anyone else there with me that day. It's not like he was standing in front of me or behind me. You look at the photos, and especially if you look down here at this woman's foot, you see how her... we did it again. You look at this woman's foot. See how her foot is just raised up slightly? She's walking. And same with the guy off in the distance. He's walking. But if you look at my version of it, it's the exact same damn photo. I know for a fact this is the exact same damn photo. And the biggest issue is, look, Spencer Finley, there's no attribution on it. It doesn't say taken by Shawn King. It doesn't say anything about Starting Point Photography. It's got 1,700 views, but it's in 21 different groups. Inside Vancouver, Vancouver Sun, which is the local newspaper, the Province, the local newspaper, the Georgia Straight, the local weekly, Van City Buzz. So it's here. And he's getting whatever recognition that photo deserves to him. It was actually on Vancouver, I think it's vancouver.ca, as a representation of the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival. With photo courtesy of Spencer Finley. So the website, the Twitter account writes to me and says, "Yeah, he sent us the photo." I said, "Yeah, they're basically saying, oh, sorry, it's not our fault. He sent us the photo." I said, "Well, I know he sent you the photo." Now, if they paid him for the photo, which they probably didn't, that's money I lost. If he's stealing photos, and Melissa, you actually went around and checked out his Instagram feed, didn't you?
I looked at his Flickr and Instagram.
And what did that tell you?
Well, I don't know if they're now I looked at it, all these beautiful photographs, but I wondered how many of them were his.
Yes, because if you steal
he had won some little Instagram award thing for a photograph that he had issued. Yep. Budding young photographer he was portrayed as, from what I could see in the photographs. I
love the fact that my friend Kevin Hayes has posted in here. He said, "You didn't take this picture. It was stolen from Starting Point Photography." Thank you, Kevin.
What did he put that on? Flickr?
Yes, Flickr. So the thing is, this is whatever recognition that picture got is now accrued to Spencer Finley. Whether that's money, whether that's the possibility of someone at the Vancouver Sun saying, "Hey, that's a really good Cherry Blossom Festival picture. We should hire this guy to take pictures for us next Cherry Blossom Festival." Yes, I wasn't charging for the photo, but my Creative Commons license says not to be used without attribution and not to be used for commercial reasons. Well, Vancouver, the website, Vancouver.com, has got ads wrapped around that article where my photo is. So they're making money off of it. People are making money off of this photo. So I reported this to Pixie, and MacMan says report his ass to Flickr. That's a good point. I'm gonna do that next. But interestingly enough, this is the email that Pixie sends. It says, "Dear designated agent, my name is Shawn King. It has come to my attention that your website or a website your company hosts is infringing on my copyright-protected photograph. The original photo is here. The unauthorized and infringing copy is here. I own the copyright to this photo. I seek removal of the infringing work referenced above. This notice serves as the official notification under Section 512 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Please remove and disable all access to the aforementioned copyrighted work immediately. So that's the email they send to the infringer. And then they send me, case submission received. Thank you for your case submission. We've captured the primary evidence, and our case management team will review your submission within the next 6 weeks. But MacMan says that's why all my pics are copyrighted to me. Well, every photo you take is copyrighted to you. That's copyright is automatic as soon as you create it and as soon as you create the photo. So that's not an issue of copyright. You get more push when your copyrighted photo is actually officially copyrighted by the U.S. Copyright Agency, but you get automatic copyright. Even if you don't put the copyright symbol on it, you still get automatic copyright to everything that you have created. That's what copyright does. So, doesn't matter how you post on the internet your photos, whether it's professionally, whether it's just as a hobby, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Flickr. Go to Pixsy.com, Pixsy.com. Doesn't cost a damn thing. And have them look for your photos. MacMan says, but I have a Flickr license set to copyright and not a CC one. Yeah, and that's fine. My Creative Commons, because people have to remember that Flickr licenses photos to Getty Images too. But my Creative Commons Flickr images are non-commercial use and for attribution. So if you use it commercially, you owe me. If you don't attribute it to me, you have to either attribute it to me or you owe me, or both, one of the two. One of the problems with this, though, is people think that because something's on the internet, that means it's free. That because you posted a photo on the internet, I can then use that photo. But in fact, according to the strict adherence to the law, you can't use anyone's photo on the internet without their expressed permission. Now, that permission can be on a Creative Commons license. It can be a notice on their website. But you legally have to get permission. Even if you link to someone's photo. You grab the photo, you put it on your website, and you link back to their site. That's not good enough. People put photos on the internet in order for you to see them, not for you to use them in any way that you so choose. So keep that in mind. 95% of the photos that you find, say on Flickr, the person, check on the bottom of it for the Creative Commons licensing of it. Most of those photos are going to be free for you to use as long as you attribute it to the photographer. Because everybody wants the recognition. A lot of them, the better ones obviously, are going to be for pay. So you have to keep an eye out for that. Because you can get yourself in trouble. My friend got $3,000 out of it because these idiots took a photo of his without his permission, without giving him attribution. So they're out at least $3,000. Yeah, Sherry, we get article submissions, newsletter submissions with photos the author obviously didn't take and create. You ask, where did we get that photo? Sherry says, they say Google, facepalm. Exactly. Just because you can see it on Google doesn't mean it's your photo. You got to ask permission for this kind of stuff. There's something else that I wanted to talk about tonight. What was it? Did you have something you want to? Oh no, you're not ready to talk about it, are you?
I'm going to follow him on Instagram.
My personal little stalker.
Yeah.
What was it we were talking? Oh, God. You're a healthcare professional. Would you describe yourself as a healthcare professional?
Yes.
That's officially what you would be designated as. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, will acknowledge the fact that I am a Neanderthal. Okay?
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
I am sometimes a bit of a caveman.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I have become a bit more enlightened as I've gotten older. So the idea of emotional support animals still kind of grates me the wrong way. I get guide dogs, not a problem. I've seen guide goats. That's a little bit ridiculous. What's an emotional support animal?
Well, in healthcare, I only am experienced with animals for lack of sight, but I know there's animals for post-traumatic stress, and if people have seizures, then animals will do what they need to do if somebody's had a seizure.
Sherry knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do too. I know exactly where you're going with that because I saw the picture.
Is the idea of emotional support animal something that you as a healthcare professional can get behind?
It's not really in my realm of practice. It's more of a health.
You know what? That's actually a great answer.
Yeah.
Because you're admitting that this is not something you're not.
I'm
trying
very
to be
good
an
at
expert.
that.
Okay.
It's a mental health issue, and I don't work in mental health.
The reason why Sherry knows what I'm talking about and why Melissa knows what I'm talking about is a woman tried to board a plane with her emotional support peacock. Let me say that again. Her emotional support peacock. When I saw this on Twitter, I thought, okay, someone misspelled cock.
There's a picture of the thing.
You see the picture of the thing, and she walks into the airport with a peacock on her shoulder. Mm-hmm. And it's not even a female peacock.
It's a pretty boy peacock.
This is a boy peacock with all that represents. I mean, this guy is just a full-grown, full-blooded frickin' peacock.
He is.
Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, seriously, are you kidding me with this shit? Here's the video. You can see this video. This woman corralling her peacock. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Peacock gets up on her head. Now, apparently she'd been told 3 times before she got to the airport by United, don't bring your frickin' peacock to the airport. You're not getting on the flight. She apparently then spent 6 hours arguing with United.
Wow.
Okay, my next question is, who goes to the airport 6 hours early? All right, so that's kind of suspicious to me. MacMan, did the airline tell her to FOAD? Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. But, I mean, come on. An emotional support peacock?
Well, what gets me about it, because we just spent time with quite a few peacocks in Australia, is that then they're sort of very twitchy, they're a bit stressful to be around, you know? You don't know when they're going to go, and they're going to open up their tail.
Can you imagine getting on your flight? I mean, flying is stressful enough, but you sit down on your window seat and you look over and go, what the?
Oh, what if it did open up?
And the woman said, well, I bought the bird a ticket. Not the point! The bird having its own frickin' ticket ain't the point, lady.
And then there's the sound they make.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's really loud. I don't know how it emotionally supports her, but
there ain't no noise canceling headphones would knock that sound out. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just, yes, like I said, I kind of get the emotional support animal. I'm not a mental health professional like Melissa.
I'm not either.
But emotional support peacock is just freaking ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. I cooked the fuck up when we landed.
Probably missed her flight and stood there and bitched for hours trying to get her another flight. Yeah. Dogs I get. Yeah. Cats I get.
Yeah.
I've seen emotional support gerbils.
Like a ferret.
You know,
would be, the furry things.
But the question is, where do you draw the line? Is it the size of the animal? Is it the size? I mean, because I
have my emotional support cow with me.
What about my emotional support Newfoundland?
My Newfie dog.
Those are big dogs.
Yeah.
If you allow emotional support dogs, then here's my emotional support Great Dane.
My emotional support peacock.
But can you say, okay, no more emotional support animals at all?
No.
See, that's the problem.
So what ended up happening? Sorry.
Oh, they said no. Get out of here.
Oh.
And she ended up driving the damn peacock cross country. Oh God. Yeah, it's just I saw that story and went, oh, come on. There's got to be a point where we have to stop babying people,
catering to this kind of neediness, this proprietary, I have mental, I don't know, I shouldn't say too much.
It reminds me of that story I read about maybe 2 years ago where there was a lecture in England and they had put up signs outside the lecture hall that said, due to some students having issues, the sound of applause triggers them. Mm-hmm. Please just wave your hands in the air instead. Mm-hmm. Fuck off! Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, no.
That kind of thing is in that article I read called The Fragile Generation.
Yeah?
Where there's students on university campuses now talking about how fragile they are, and they've got special areas for them to go to.
Safe spaces.
And all that. Yeah, safe spaces to go to.
For stuff like that, I'm sorry, no, okay? I sympathize with whatever triggering issues you have going on, but you're telling people in a public space how to act around you.
Yeah.
No, you don't go to the public space.
Yeah.
Okay? If you get triggered by the sound of applause, don't go to a place where there's going to be applause.
Or if you do, you take your headphones
whatever.
or your earbuds or whatever and you get ready for it. Yeah.
You deal with it. Don't expect
everybody else to do it.
500 people in the auditorium have to treat you with kid gloves.
Well, I mean, people with autism, it's a perfect example. If you have kids, well, I know that some parents, mothers of children with autism, the dryers in the washroom where you push and they go, they actually have their out of order sign ready to put on one of those because it triggers their child with autism into having a meltdown.
Don't let the kid use it.
But other people use it.
Oh.
So she just does it temporarily these months. So you take your child in to go to the washroom, but you put your out of order sign on there because you have to prepare because you want to avoid their meltdowns as much as possible. So that's an example.
Well, to be fair, those things trigger me too. I fucking hate them.
They're awful.
I hate them.
And like and the automatic flushing toilets that the ones that will just flush. Yeah, some kids melt down at those ones because they think they're actually going to go down and get flushed into the toilet, right?
Maybe that's what it is. They're a fragile generation.
Well, there is a fragile generation. So. But you just have to you have to get all ready for it, and have your headphones or whatever. Yeah.
Folks, that's it for, hang on, MacMan. In the U.S., you can ask 2 questions. Is this a service animal? And what is it trained to do? If they give some bullshit answer, you can turn them away, but be prepared for a potential lawsuit. Now, I'm glad that United stood by its guns and said no. Especially because, according to United, she'd been told 3 times before she even got to the airport. And she still showed up at the airport with her frickin' peacock.
Yeah, she wasn't. Yeah, she sounds a bit. No wonder she has emotional issues.
Okay.
Sorry, lady.
Okay. MacMan, those things piss me off because half the time I'm still in the cam, they auto flush. I've never had them auto flush on me.
Why not?
I've had them flush when I walk away.
No, sometimes they'll flush while you're there.
Like when you're sitting on them?
In position. It must be malfunctioning or something.
Interesting. I've had them flush while I'm standing in front of them. And that doesn't bother me. But I can. I've never had it happen while I'm sitting down, but I can see that would be disturbing.
It's a bit off-putting.
I agree. Sherry had one auto flush in kindergarten while I was sitting on it. As a kindergarten kid, that would be upsetting.
She's traumatized now.
Yeah, she says I was traumatized.
Yeah, she's traumatized. Yeah.
I can understand that. Monty backing up says, Shawn, did you have a watermark on that photo that this jerk edited out? No, I did not. He did not. That you do. Out.
Yeah, you have your. Yeah.
I didn't on this shot because it wasn't an important shot. It was just a throwaway. Actually, I think it was. Might have even been an auto upload shot. It didn't have anything.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it matters in the sense that you have a stronger case the more copyright protection you put on things. So, if you have a copyright notice starting point photography, and he's edited it out, that shows malice. It shows he intentionally.
Yes.
Oh, and he can't go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. No, you edited the photo. So that's how some people get away with it. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks very much, as always, to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Thanks to you guys for being here. As always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any comments about anything we've talked about on tonight's show, what are your thoughts about the HomePod? Are you going to buy a HomePod? Have you seen the HomePod ads? What are your thoughts about the new ads? What are your thoughts about peacocks? Send me emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow. As always, until next week, I've been Shawn King.
And I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life.
Bye.
See ya!